Hey everybody, welcome back to Overland Q&A. I'm joined by young Pippa today, so she's going to keep me company here in the camping section at SpeedX. And we're going to go through quite an intense question from Neil Johnson, aka Airlight. Now, I've pre-recorded this some time ago because the question takes on multiple facets of water solutions. So we're going to cut to that. But first, let's give you the SpeedX tip of the week right now. Check this out. And it's that time again, SpeedX tip of the week. Today we're going to be talking about jumper cables, right? So you all probably take some sort of a fridge or a freezer or just these cooler boxes that are powered by your 12-volt battery. How many of you have been out there, left it on for too long, and your battery's flat? Now, most people don't carry jumper cables in their vehicle. My suggestion is to get out there, get yourself a set, number one, but more importantly, have a look at the specs of the jumper cable. I would go with nothing less than 600 amp. You can see they sell 300 amp, 400 amp. I would personally go with nothing less than 600 amp, and also look at the length, 2.5 meters. A lot of the times, your vehicle is going to be facing the opposite side of the vehicle that's trying to jump you. So 5-meter cables or a 4-meter cable is something that I personally would go. So have a look at your amp hour and have a look at the length of the cable. Remember to come stock these over here and get your discount. Use the Expedition Extreme code and you can avail 15% on automotive products at SpeedX. Remember, if it's dusty, drive it. Can you cut this for me?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. I need 160 centimeters and then just slice it all the way through. And it's free?
Yeah, it's free, sir.
Yes, sir. Excellent, excellent. Right. Can you get it cut for me?
Yeah, sure.
I'll wait here for you. Thanks.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
You're back. Great. How was that tip of the week? Did you like it, Pips? Yes, fantastic. Okay, so let's get into this question from Neil. I'm going to cut to the footage that we did before. It's a fantastic question. Neil, thank you so much. Reach out to me. I'm definitely going to be sending you a cap because I think this is going to give everybody a total picture of what they should be doing on water solutions, how much water, safety, security, the whole bang shoot. Quite a long video, but very informative. Enjoy it. We'll catch you at the end of it. Right. I received this email not too long ago from Neil Johnson, aka Airlight. Pretty interesting question. Now this question is going to be one question only for this Overland Q&A because there's a lot of angles that we need to cover on this, and it is regarding water and water solutions. So let me read the question. This is more aimed at Africa or parts of Australia. How much water do you take, and is it calculated X liters per person, or just how much you can carry? How do you carry it? Do you have a built-in water tank in your truck? And how much emergency water do you carry in case of an unexpected incident? Also, how easy is it to get clean / fresh drinking water in Africa? Right, so this has got a couple of components to it. Right, so let's break this down. First and foremost, how much water do you take, and is there a calculation X liters per person? Right, so let's stop on that. So this will be broad around the world. It doesn't matter where you are. The only variance would be is the temperatures. If you're in a colder environment, obviously you'd be utilizing less water, for example, being stuck out here in the desert. Being stuck here in the desert, trying to find shade, very, very difficult. So, my rule of thumb, and this pretty much goes all over, is that you need, in an emergency case, is 2 liters of water per person per day to survive. Now, that scale does go up slightly. If we were to be stuck out right now in this temperature, we're running 45 to 50 degrees Celsius. So if we were in the desert, it probably goes up closer to 60 degrees Celsius, being on the hot sand.
2 liters would probably not be enough to survive. But let's go back to the question. The question is about Africa and Australia. So in Africa, the abundance of trees pretty much everywhere. If you were stuck out on the salt pans or you were in Namibia, and chances of getting shade would also then bring you back to the desert conditions we discussed earlier. But general rule of thumb, I look at 2 liters per person per day. Now, how do you work that out? Before you setting up any kind of trip, you need to obviously plan your route, and when planning your route, where would be the closest extract point, or where would be the closest town, or how long would it take for any emergency services to get to you? And that's how you would calculate your emergency water. Now, in my case, I carry 20 liters of water as an emergency regardless. Doesn't matter if I'm a half hour away from the closest emergency or 2 to 3 days away from the closest emergency. I've always got 20 liters as a sub tank that has got nothing to do with my 40-liter tank that's on board, for various reasons. If I had to crack my 40-liter tank, I would always have a spare 20-liter that has got nothing to do with the main tank, and then vice versa. If I had to drop my jerry can that holds the 20-liter water, I would have 40 liters that has got nothing to do with it. Right, so let's stick with Africa for right now, because Africa I've got quite a bit of experience in, and let's park Australia for a second. With regards to fresh water, water is readily available throughout Africa except for the desert areas. So if you're going into the Sahara or you're going into the Namib desert, finding water is obviously more difficult than in the subtropical regions, Southern Africa, East Africa, and then obviously on the West Coast. So finding water in the rivers, very, very easy. However, drinking the water straight from the streams or the rivers is not advisable. First and foremost, before we even worry about drinking the water, how do you get your water from these water sources into your grey water tanks? Let's cut to a piece outside real quickly. Right, so let's have a look at my setup in my vehicle. Right, I have got a 40-liter front runner, I think it is, front runner full water solution or water tank that runs in the footwell of the vehicle. I have my spare 20 liters of water over here, and I've set up the plumbing system over here to be able to either draw from the 40-liter or to bypass that system and draw from external sources to fill up this tank. Now, if you're running a tank underneath the vehicle in the chassis, where it's probably the best place to put it because your center of gravity is right down low, it's difficult to fill them up, especially when you're getting to areas where you're trying to fill up from a JoJo tank. So what I do is I've got a linking system in here, and I'll give you a close-up of it now, a linking system over here which I can bypass, and I can draw water utilizing the exact same pump that's installed into the vehicle to draw water from an external source. So if you're stopping at a fuel station and they don't have water, you can screw it onto one of the external taps, run the tap, and the pump will assist drawing that water and filling up either one of your tanks. So I've stuck one of these 3-way splitters into my water system. I have the main part that would go towards my pump, and I would have either a source coming in from the main tank, or I would switch that off and I'd have a source coming from an exterior water supply, and that's how I can get water into my tanks. So important, my suggestion to you is always carry a 10-meter hose and a 5-meter hose. In fact, let's go into the Expedition Extreme bag over here and I'll show you. So in our Expedition Extreme bin bags, we have done some development on these and added an additional pouch in the rear end of this, which is unutilized space for these hoses. So let's drag the hoses out of here. Right, like I said, unutilized space. I have got 2 hoses in here. One of these little stretchy hoses, these sometimes are 5 to 20 meters, 10 to 15, or 10 to 20 meters, or 10 to 30 meters. I'm not actually sure, but you can get these at any of these shops. These stretch out quite a long way. I think this one goes up to 30 meters. And then I've got an additional hard pipe to draw water from my 20-liter tank when I'm warming up the water for a shower. So I would circulate the water, running it through the water heater, and my 20-liter drum would be warm, and we can shower from that. These are the two additional pipes that I would suggest for everybody to carry to be able to get water into your tanks and to utilize while you're having a shower. So as you can see, my vehicle is not set up for traveling through Africa. Pretty much the water that we're gathering over here in the United Arab Emirates is rather fresh. I run through a couple of bacterial tablets through into the water system, but I have no need for a grey water tank. Now, if I were to set up this truck and we were traveling through Africa with this truck, I would install another tank that would be grey water only. So this would be the water that I'd be sucking up from the rivers, or any kind of water that I'm not 100% sure that I would like to run through my filtration systems that could end up being for a shower or cleaning dishes or drinking water for that matter. I try and keep that water as fresh as possible. The grey water tank would be a good addition if you were going to spend a lot of time through Africa. In case of bringing in grey water and I need to utilize the grey water to turn it into drinking water and there is no other choice, these are the three products that I would utilize. Now, first of all and foremost, in a survival mode, you would go to the life straw, which I'm not going to spend too much time on, but your life straw is sticking it straight into a river or into a pond, and you'll be able to drink water from there. This is a good instant water supply, and I keep this in my medical kit. I keep actually 3 or 4 of them in the medical kit. It is very light. It uses a little bit of space, but this is a must-have for traveling through Africa. Definitely must-have. The second one that I utilize, and I utilize this even here, even if I'm taking tap water, and the place where I'm getting the tap water from looks a little dodgy. This is clean water bio tablets. I throw this into my 40-liter tank as well as the 20-liter tank, and this is basically an antibacterial tablet. And depending on how many liters you've got would depend on how many tablets you would throw in there. I do this as a precaution. The last thing that you want is to pick up some nasty little bug, and trust me, being out there camping and having an upset stomach for 24 hours, 48 hours is not pleasant, especially if you're in the bushveld. The last thing you want to do is be jumping out of your tent at 2 a.m. in the morning and fighting off lions or leopards or hippos, elephants, whatever. Trying to go out there because your tummy is upset. So this is prevention rather than cure. And lastly is an addition that I added about a year ago. This is a water filtration system. Now this filtration system is not instant, but this would be good to have, and I keep this in my go bag. So in case of emergency, I would be able to collect 10 liters of water, hang this up in a tree, and then this would run through a filtration system. It's got a 4-stage filtration system. So the 4-stage filtration system is removing the sediments. It's the iodized resin, which is basically kills the bacteria in the raw water. Stage 3 is the coconut carbon, which further removes residual chemicals, chlorine, odor, so on and so forth. And stage 4 is the ultra filtration membrane, removes 99% of targeted pollutants. So not only is the water, the grey water that you're picking up, could be stinky, it could smell really bad and taste, which will inevitably taste really bad. This filtration system actually removes the odor as well, so it makes the water more pleasant for you to drink and safe. So this is in my go bag. This is an emergency. I know this is probably going to be the next question, so let me cut straight through to what I would do in an emergency and how I've got the vehicle packed in case of emergency, in case the vehicle burns out. So let me take 30 seconds and show you this. Right, so we're in an emergency situation. We might have a fire. We've not managed to contain the fire with the fire extinguishers, and we have to abandon ship or vehicle for that matter. So first things first, I grab my GPS, my mobile phone, and my satellite phone. Always easily accessible, right in front of me on the dash. On the way out, I would grab a Zippo, which is always full, my Leatherman, and then we move to the rear of the vehicle. Quickly open up the rear door, and as you can see, everything is accessible right in front of me. Hat, important. Go bag, important. Medical gear, my water, additional communication, which is a radio, always keep it charged, additional radio to be able to get hold of anybody in the area. We've got the satellite phone. It might be an overkill, but I do it anyway, and my shovel. So with these basic items, really quick and easy to get out of the vehicle, ensure that they are accessible, and you should be able to survive for a number of days. So depending on how far away you are from civilization would depend on various aspects, so how much food you're going to have in your go bag, how much water you're going to be carrying. But this is the basic content on how quick and easy you can get out of the vehicle and survive. A couple of questions probably going to come up. Where's your jacket, so on and so forth. You've got space blankets in there. But depending on the area that you're in, you would carry a jacket or a sleeping bag really close to your go bag, and that would come with you. So depending on the area, depending on the environment, I'm happy to do a full show about this. If you want to go further into the emergency, the go bags, and what you do in that situation, comment below and I'll do a full clip on this. But since this is the water aspect, I wanted to show how quick and easy you need accessibility to these basic items, and getting out and being able to survive until you can get in touch with an emergency service or another vehicle or truckers, lorries, anything that's going through the forests, wherever you may be. It's important to take note of a couple of survival tips when this absolute disaster happens. You've grabbed your water, you have got some water with you, you've got your filtration device with you, so you could have a constant supply of water. However, it is important to take a couple of additional steps. Firstly, find shade. Find a way to elevate yourself from the heat off the ground. Thirdly, minimize your movements as much as possible, and wear your full gear. Don't take your shirt off because it's hot. You've got to try and conserve your sweat. So if you've got long sleeves, roll your long sleeves down, put on your long sleeve pants. Your sweat will still dissipate, you will still be sweating, and your sweat will act as a cooling device. It'll cool down your clothing, and the breeze, hopefully there's a breeze, it will create like an aircon effect. Don't get rid of your clothing. Put a hat on, put a scarf on, conserve your sweat. It will assist your body from not getting rid of so much fluid in the short time span that you need for someone to come and save you. So take care of those couple of tips and you should be okay. Now, I think what I have covered is as much as I possibly could for what I'm experienced in.
Right guys, and that's a wrap for this week's show. Neil, what a fantastic question, mate. I think and I hope that everybody enjoyed that. It's a lot of information to take in. If you've got any further questions, please link your questions below and we'll get back to you next week. Thanks to SpeedX for keep on supporting us and to my Patreon members. Catch you soon. If it's dusty, drive it.